Hello everybody and welcome to a Facebook Live with Jeannie. I am Jeannie Nielsen, the card lady, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. Today, because my craft along is a little bit involved, in fact, where did I just put those projects? Oh, there they are. Anyway, the craft along this month is the Delicate Pines, and I am doing a bags, tags, treat holders, and gift card holders type of class. So I have 7 projects. I actually have 8 projects, even though I haven't finished the 8th one, and it was a happy accident. So I'm just going to today show you how to make the bags and tags, and it's out of whole pieces of the Elegant Pines DSP. So I've used a couple of different patterns, and we'll get to those in just a second. But I wanted to thank you for joining me. Share this video if you enjoy what you're seeing. And next month, sign up for the craft along for sure. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but stay tuned. I'm going to flip down so I can flip up or flip up so I can flip down, I should say. And then I'll show you these projects. That's my beautiful ceiling. And voila, here we are with our projects for today. Let's go down a little bit. I don't want to go down too much, but let me show you. I'm going to show you the bags that we're doing today, but I also want to show you next week's projects, just so you're enthusiastic about it. I have 2 gift card holders, and they both use the Elegant Pines snowflake paper. So this is the first one, and you've probably seen this before. It's a very similar pattern to the gingerbread man. And then I also have this one, and this one is also a previous pattern, but you can see how it has a pocket. But I'm going to show you that next week, so stay tuned. I do have to show you something fun that I discovered today, though. Oh my goodness, I have to show you something. We'll get to that later. Okay, here's the third project, and this has a little magnetic clasp. Very fun. It holds some tea bags, or you can put a gift card holder with tea bags, or you can put a fun little gift in there that'll fit in this accordion pouch. So stay tuned for that. This is next week. And then my next project, so that was 3 projects. This is project number 4. It's a little note card, and you can also put your gift card in here. This envelope is made out of the DSP, and it's very, very simple. I'm going to show you that next week. And my 5th project, like I said, was a happy accident. So you see this one, and this one goes like this. I scored this one wrong. I scored it wrong, and it turns out it's the perfect size for a gift card. So I have to decorate it up, and I will. I have one other die from the Delicate Pines dies that I want to use that I haven't used yet, but stay tuned for that. So far we've got 5 projects there, but let me show you today's projects. Today we are going to do these fun gift bags, and each of them is out of 1 or 2 pieces of DSP. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. They stack nicely inside of each other. Look at that. Here is this one. And I use the pattern tags dies to accent it. And I'm going to show you how to use that and what I did with that. This Joy die, by the way, I see that it's sold out now, but this is the Abundant Joy Paper Pumpkin die. If you are a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you have options of purchasing these dies every 3 months, and they kind of coincide. They coordinate is the word I'm looking for, with the 3 months of Paper Pumpkins. So this was the October, November, December die, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. And here is my last little bag, and this is made out of 6-inch by 6-inch DSP, and here's my tag there. So let's just get going on these because they're so fun and so easy, and you can make bags of any size. You could make a gift bag out of 12 by 12. I chose to do the maximum size 10 by 10, and that's this one. And that makes about 6 1/4 inch, 6-inch bag here. And I have something else that I want to try with you, so I'm excited to do that on camera. I haven't tried it before, but stay tuned. All these greens are so lovely, and I decided they needed to be accented differently. So this, I used the, is it Mossy Meadow and Gold ribbon? I believe it is. I think it's Mossy Meadow and Gold, but it could be Old Olive and Gold. I'm going to stick with Mossy Meadow and Gold. I used one of our Arches dies, and just stay tuned for something else that I discovered in this. So let's get going on this first. So we're going to start. You're going to need your paper trimmer and you're going to need your scoreboard. I like my scoreboard for doing any scoring that goes along with my paper trimmer. I know there's a scoring blade, and if I have to use it, I will. But seriously, my paper trimmer is for trimming. My scoreboard is for scoring. So we are going to first cut our paper. So let's do that now. I have 3 different patterns of paper, and they're all going to go along with the bags I've already made. So this, you're going to need, for this bag, it uses a 10-inch square of DSP. That means you need 2 sheets of paper. I'm going to use the same pattern, and let's do that first. We're going to cut our paper first to 10 by 10. So I'm going to put my arm out, and I could actually cut them both at the same time. I do have to tell you, you probably don't want to use a pattern on this. You can see that you're going to fold over the top. You're also going to fold over the bottom. If you fold over the top, it's quite possible that the rest of your bag is going to be upside down if there is a pattern. So I would go with a non-pattern paper. Now, by pattern, I mean that it has an up and a down. There is a definite up and down. You can see from this that it's very, they're in all different directions. So I could put my paper any which way I want, and I will. So I'm not going to worry in this one about which direction. So I don't mean pattern paper, I mean directional paper. You want to make sure that it doesn't have a direction. To be, you know what? I would never, ever tell you to cut 2 pieces at the same time unless you take a chance like I do and you risk the possibility of ruining it. So don't do that. I just changed my mind. Just changed my story. Okay, so that's 10 inches that way. We need a 10-inch square. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that in just a second. But we need 2 of these. Save these strips. You can use these for decorating your cards. You can use them for all sorts of things. I don't know what we'll use it for. I don't think I used any of the 2-inch strips so far for any of my projects. You will see that when I got to the 6 by 6 inch square that I used that for something else. So we're cutting 2-inch strips off of each side. That means that one side is going to have a leftover 12 by 2-inch strip, and the other side is only going to have a probably 10-inch by 2-inch strip left. Okay, I can put the paper trimmer away for just a second. We'll take it out for our next bag. But let's now bring in our scoreboard. So I'm going to tell you what measurements, where we're going to score this. This one, and I wrote myself a little cheat note, you're going to score it 2.5 inches on each side. And I would recommend, unless you are really good at math, and I like to challenge myself, I will say, okay, 2.5 inches, that's going to be right here. But your better bet is to just keep rotating your paper. So we're going to score it on 2.5 inches on 3 sides, and on the 4th side, it's going to be half of that. It's going to be 1.25 inches. So we're going to have a top that's 1.25 inches that is flipped over, okay? So let's start by doing our 2.5 inch sides. We've got 1, 2, because you only have 4 sides, it doesn't matter which side is the 1.25, but just make sure that you remember that one side is 1.25 inches. Okay, so that's my first one, and I'm going to do the same thing with the second square. So 2.5 inches, rotate it, 2.5 inches, rotate it, 2.5 inches, and then our fourth side is going to be 1.25 inches. I'm scoring this, and I always like to use the larger end of the scoring tool. Be very careful, and I feel like if you use the smaller end, you risk the possibility of ripping your paper, and that's really going to be obvious when you use it with designer paper. It's just not as thick as your cardstock, so you have to be very careful. Okay, let me move this out of the way, and now we're going to make some cuts. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is fold over my 1.25 inch top. So let's do that first. My 1.25 inch top gets folded over, and then it's going to be very obvious. Let's use our bone folder because that's the best tool to use when you're scoring. Let's see. I'm going to do it so that the green is on the outside for the top. If you choose to make your bag the other way, that the green is on the outside, you will have to make sure, I don't know, again, that it has a direction. But okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to, for one of these, let me grab my large scissors. These are old Stampin' Up! Scissors, and I just love them. I'm so sad that they don't make them anymore. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. For one thing, we are going to cut out the 2 corners. This is for 1 square. So we're going to cut out the bottom 2 corners. If you have trouble seeing it, and I do a tiny bit, then fold on your score line, and it might be a little bit more obvious, okay? So I'm going to fold on my score line just like that, and now I can see right where I have to cut. So we're going to cut just like this. So we're using the Elegant Pines stamp set. And I just did something wrong, and I was going to say it when I was doing when I was just clarifying if it's going to be on the outside, you're going to flip your paper. Well, I actually scored this wrong. If I'm going to be true to what I always say, I said the bump goes in the middle, on the inside when you're scoring, and I just scored it the other way. So, okay, so this one, we're going to score like this. So we've cut out the 2 corners, okay? That's the first thing I'm going to do. Now this one, I am going to just cut up to my 4 corners. And am I doing it this way? I think I'm doing it this way. Let me see. Oh boy, I should have looked at my pattern before I did it. I'm gonna take a chance. If I do it wrong, when I do it the next time, I'm gonna do it right. And when I write this tutorial, which shouldn't take too long, so what we're going to do is go like this. So we've got our score lines. We're scoring on our score lines. I'm gonna fold here again. This is going to be my inside of my bag, going just like that. Now this is what we're going to do. I have to fold on these score lines as well to actually be able to complete this bag. I think I did want to do it the other way. So next time when I do my bag, remind me I'm not cutting there, I'm going to cut up. I'm going to try that because I'm thinking that it's going to work. It's going to work just fine, but it's going to work better doing it the other way. So notice how I'm now folding on all my score lines, and I'm really burnishing them well with my bone folder. There we go. So we're going to go like this. We're going to go like that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got my glue here. I like green glue. You can use tear and tape if you want to. I find that green glue is going to hold it just fine, but tear and tape does a really good job when you're doing something that you really want to stick well. going to put this right up to it, like that, and I'm going to fold it over. And now I have a nice reinforced bottom besides. Okay, this is the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to put some glue on these tabs here. We're going to find out if I did this right or wrong. We are going to find out. I think it's going to work out either way, truthfully. Okay, I'm going to now fold this bag up just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to add my green glue right there to the tab. Go up like that. I'm curious if I did that right. I think I did. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Okay, so now what I want to do is do these outside tabs. So we're going to just go like this. And I'll just put my hand in there to just kind of reinforce that a little bit. You're going to figure out what is going to be the front of your bag and what's going to be the back. What you really want is this tab here on the outside to face backwards. So this will be the back of my bag where I've got the raw edges showing. Okay, let me just do this. And then the only other thing that I wanted to do, just because I think it looks neater, after I've got this all down, look at how easy that is. I'm just going to add a little dot of glue to that side and a little dot of glue to this side. You don't need a whole lot. Okay, so now you can see that I have a really clean front of the bag and the back of the bag. You can see the raw edges a little bit. Not that it's really going to matter, but anyway, I wanted to do that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, I have a crocodile. Now, if you have a hole punch, designer paper is pretty thin, except that you've got it now doubled, or in fact quadrupled, because you've got 2 folds on each side. So I would recommend a pretty strong, pretty heavy-duty hole punch, and the crocodile fits the bill. Because this is a big bag, I would have preferred to do wider ribbon, and you'll see on my other bags I use wider ribbon. The problem is this ribbon matches so beautifully, and my other ribbon, I just don't feel that it does. So, okay, I'm doing a little hole there, and we're going to do another one on this side. Kind of in the middle. Just eyeball it. You can figure it out. I'm going to put one side through here, and you know what I really want to do? I've got some tips here for my take your pick tool. Let me get rid of that for now. I'm going to use this tip, which is a scoring tip, by the way. I'm going to use that to kind of poke my ribbon through, okay? And actually, maybe I want the smaller tip now that I think about it, because it is a pretty small hole. So let's do that. I'm going to just poke this through. Just like that. Before I attach it though, I'm going to just attach one side so you can see it, but I have to make my tag. So let's make our tag after I tie the one side. So you'll see what I'm doing. I'm just making a quick little knot here. Give yourself plenty of ribbon. I ended up having to recut some of mine because my fingers are bigger than my ribbon was. You know, you've got to, if you're wrapping it around your finger, like I did, you'll want to make sure that it's gonna, you've got plenty. Okay, and I can make this shorter, but I want to make sure I've got enough on that is going to be threaded inside so that I can make my knot. Okay, let's put this aside for a second and let's make our tag. Now, did I bring over my... Yes, I did. Okay, so I told you I used the Everyday Arches dies. I was going to use the pattern tags dies, but I wanted to show you something really cool about these dies. And you'll understand when I show you, because when I first looked at these dies, and in fact, I went to Pinterest over and over and over again, trying to figure out what one of these dies was used for. I'm like, you can't, honestly, and I'll show you the die that I'm talking about. Actually, let me do the stamping first. So what I did was I used my garden green ink, and I used the largest delicate pine snowflake. And isn't it such a pretty snowflake? You know, it really was pretty ingenious of them to do this with pine needles. It's just a great idea. I mean, I don't think we've ever had anything like that. We've had snowflakes, but never with pine needles. Okay, let me move this out of the way for a second, my glue. And I'm going to do my stamping. So when I have large stamps, I like to bring my ink pad to my stamps. That's just the way I've been all along. And I'm finding that some of my ink pads definitely need to be re-inked. So I apologize about that. But here is my Everyday Arches dies. And this one is just about 4 inches tall. It's like 3 3/4 inches tall. The best way to measure these, though, is to measure from the bottom on the straight edge. And on the straight edge, it's like 2 5/8 inches, okay? So just a little bit over 2.5 inches wide. What I'm going to do is just down here, I am going to stamp my snowflake, just like that. And don't forget, because it's a solid and a big stamp, I use my fingers to rub underneath. You also could be doing it on your piercing pad. That's another good way to make sure that you get a good solid image with your photopolymer stamps. And that's going to be really important in the future, by the way, because we're going to all photopolymer stamps. Okay, the other thing I want to do is stamp my to from. Now, to from is not part of the pattern tags dies. It's part of, seasonal tags, I believe is the name of the stamp set. And for the life of me, yes, my room is cleaned up, and it's cleaned up so much that I can't even find the stamp. But anyway, there's a to from in there, and I've chosen this to from. If you have another to from other stamp sets, and we've had to froms over the years, so you can use whatever you want. I'm just going to stamp that like that. Try to do a straighter job than I just did. Okay, now I wanted to show you something about the dies, just like I told you. So we've got this great big snowflake, and let me show you this one. I stamped in the open areas, I used a smaller stamp to stamp, and that's beautiful, right? Well, look at this die. Here we have this one, and you see that the open is taken out. I've removed all the open areas of the snowflake. Well, that is these 2 dies. And I'm telling you, I was saying to myself, when I tell you I went to Pinterest and spent hours looking for something using these dies just to figure out how they attached each little one of those petals to the die. Well, that's not what they did. And there's 2 of them. I almost think I cut, this one looks like it's a little bit better suited for the bigger stamp. And then there's also a smaller stamp here, and you could use that one for that. It's just a tiny bit smaller. It's the it looks like an arrowhead. But what you're going to do is put that in here, in your tag. And maybe you guys have figured all this out, and I'm the only one that had no idea. I'm like, it is so ridiculous that it actually removes 5 little pieces, and I'm going to keep track of those little pieces, and I'm going to attach it to my snowflake. And I don't even know how to do that. Well, this is how you do it. This is the die that you use to make this an open air area. I'm not going to do it now because, you know, when I use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, it shakes the whole table. But this is what I did. So I now have, here, let me punch my hole. And I'm going to, again, use the smaller hole just because it's a smaller ribbon width. If you use a wider ribbon, you'll want to use the other side. So what I'm going to do is just attach this on here. And again, I'm going to use my tool, take your pick tool, to kind of push this through. Pull it through, whatever. Yeah, I'm ruining the ribbon, but you get the idea. And then just make sure that it's nice and straight. On this one, there is actually a reverse of this ribbon. This is a little bit more gold. You don't want it to be twisted. So, and then I went from the outside in. So what I'm going to do is push this through. And I told you to be careful of which side. Yeah, that is the side. Okay, so I'm going to just push that through right there. And I'm going to just make myself a quick little knot. And I can make this ribbon as long or as short, but like I said, I had to have enough so that when I have my knot in here, I have enough ribbon to tie the knot and wrap it around my finger and whatever. This is pretty long, so I might actually move my knot up a little bit, just like that. Just like that. And then you just cut off the excess tail. And voila, our first project is done. And yes, I made a mess of that. How did I get green ink all over the back of that tag? But anyway, you get the idea. So that's our first project. I wanted to show you something to do with that though. So let's do that next before we get to our next bag. I have here some tissue paper. And maybe what I'm going to do is just, yeah, I'm just going to cut it down so it's a square, a little bit more of a square. And let's stamp our tissue paper too, to go along with our bags. That's easy to do with our stamps. And maybe I'll use this for one of the smaller bags. We'll see. This is all the beautiful white tissue paper I could find. So what I'm going to do is use various stamps, and I'm going to use various colors. So we have Pretty Peacock that's in this bag. You can see the Pretty Peacock. There's definitely some Old Olive in there. I think there's some Garden Green. There's Old Olive on the edge for sure. Shaded Spruce, you could see it if you really looked, but let's, I'm going to leave the Shaded Spruce off for now because I'm using enough Shaded Spruce for my other ribbons. So let's do our stamping. Where did I put my big stamp that I just used? Good question. You guys are watching me do this and say, oh my goodness, how could she have lost the big stamp already? I mean, she really just used it. It's right here. Okay, it's right here. So what I'm going to do first is do some Pretty Peacock with the large one, because I think that's what those larger snowflakes are. And by the way, there is a snowflake that looks like that, so you could totally match it and do the snowflake, but I want to not use up, I want to use the big one just so that I'm not spending so much time doing this, but you'll see what I'm going to do. So all I'm going to do, it's just like making your own designer paper. You're going to stamp. Try to do a good job stamping. Isn't that pretty? Let's do it again. If you can't really lift this one up, so if you lift it up, you want it to be a full, fully stamped. Does that make sense? So make sure you ink up your stamp enough and make sure you do a good job stamping. This might be easier with some brand new paper too. That's not so, this one I found in my closet. So let's do one more over here. Just over here. And when you're doing random means that you're not going to have a pattern. I think we're going to do one more down in the bottom. And I'm going to actually stamp this off the edge because I don't want it to look so patterned. So let me put my paper underneath here. And we're going to stamp it like that. So you can see that it's off the edge that I'm stamping, so it doesn't look like I don't know, like wallpaper. I don't want it to look like wallpaper. And that, to me, wallpaper has those stripes or whatever, just a definite pattern, and I want it to be random. Okay, let's do some garden green with my next one here. I'm gonna do that over here. I think I need to re-ink my garden green before my craft along people come in person next week. This is a smaller stamp, so you can see that I am bringing my stamp to my ink pad instead of the other way around, because I can control that, right? Good. Let's do one more. Beautiful. Okay, so now that's good enough for now. You get the idea. I'm going to just make one more piece of this. I have this pine branch, and I'll use the old olive in between all of this for my pine branches. And if I wanted to, there is actually, isn't that pretty? There is actually a pine cone stamp, and maybe we'll do that real quick too. Why not? We've got time. So thank you to everybody joining me. Leave me a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. How's the weather? Here this morning we had wind chill factors under 0 this morning. Yet my dog still chose to walk, but I was bundled up. They're so fat. You know, how fat were they, right? They're so fat that I can't get a sweater from last year to fit them. So I feel bad saying that, but they really are. They eat their treats well. They're well taken care of. If that's a good thing, to give them lots of treats and to love them as much as I do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, this should be dry. If it has a finish on yours, you may want to wait a little bit longer. What I'm going to do is flip it, and we're going to go like this, and we're just going to stuff it inside our bag, and voila. You can add more next week when we're actually doing it in person. I'd suggest that you fully cover yours, and I'll have more snowflakes for you. But anyway, isn't that pretty? So really pretty paper that you can make yourself. So anyway, okay, that's project number 1, and that's the 10-inch square designer paper. So now we are going to make project number 2. This is project number 2. And this, yes, after I did this, I decided that's just way too much ribbon. You know, to do a couple of handles was a little bit much. And that one would have, if I had switched out the paper and done this with a 10-inch square, it would have been much more appropriate. It doesn't need that much ribbon. Okay, so let's bring in our paper cutter, again, our paper trimmer. And I am going to now cut an 8-inch square. Because it's 8 inches, I need 2 pieces again, right? So we are going to cut our DSP down to 8 inches by 8 inches. That gives me a 4 by 12 inch piece. And what do you think that's perfect for? It's perfect for layering. And that's exactly what I did. I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of cardstock right here. And I use that piece to make this gift card holder. So save your DSP. And now we're going to cut it again down to 8 by 8, which means I'm going to have a 4 by 8 inch piece of something to do too. So, Okay, so that's the first piece. I have to do that twice because we can't get 8 inches, 2 8-inch squares, obviously, out of a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So 8 inches, and we're going to turn it and just cut it down to 8 inches again. Today is the last day to register for this craft along. I'll be prepping it this week. I'm actually on the road tomorrow. I have to go to Western New York for a funeral for a very good friend of my husband. So I'll be taking this with me and prepping, and you'll have it in time to finish and stamp along with the next one. If you're going to stamp at home or if you're coming in person, you'll know exactly what you're going to do. Okay, let me close this paper trimmer. I actually don't need it open anymore. Now we have to score. Now, this one is going to be scored, and I didn't write down my little cheat note, so let me see how much it's actually going to be 2 inches wide. So we're going to score 3 sides by 2 inches, which means our top is going to be scored at 1 inch. We're going to do half of the width that we're doing for the sides. Our fold over is going to be half of our width and depth. Not depth, because depth would be the height. Anyway, okay, so we're going to score this at 6 inches and at 2 inches. And I know that, so I am good with that. If you have to do your math, then turn it and do it, score it at 2 inches. Turn it again and score it at 2 inches. And my last score mark is going to be at 1 inch. And like I said, that's going to be the fold over. And I did it again. You actually want to have the right side up. So let's score it again, because that mountain has to be in the middle. Put it at 2 inches. I'm going to score at 2 inches, and I'm going to score at 2 inches. So have the inside up when you're scoring so that you are actually folding it over in the right way. Oh, and you have to do that twice. So let's do that again. So I've got one side at 1 inch, and this side will be at 2 inches. The math is easy when it's 8 inches and 2 inches. I'm going to score it at 2 inches, and I'm going to score it at 2 inches on this side. So 3 sides on 2 inches, 1 side at 1 inch, okay? Did I do that right? Yes, 2 inches. There we go. Okay. Let me move my paper trimmer out of the way, and let's bring in our big scissors again. So the first thing we're going to do is fold over our top flap. So we're going to burnish our top flap at the 1 inch. And we're going to do that on both pieces. And let's do that one more time. Let's see which side has my 1 inch. That's my 2 inch. That's my 1 inch right here. I'm going to go like this. There we go. Okay, burnish the rest of your flaps while you're at it. We'll do that. We're going to do this side, and then we'll do the bottom. We're going to do that here. Do it on both of your squares. Really easy to do this, especially because with the craft along, I will be doing the prep for you. So you don't even have to worry about this. I'll have already scored it for you. And all you have to do is burnish the score lines and cut the squares out. So this one, let's cut out our corners. I'll do that on this side as well. Luckily, I have this nice fluorescent hot light next to me that's kind of putting a little bit, it's showing me a little bit where to fold, where to cut, I should say, on that score line. Okay, that's the first one. Just for the fun of it. If I can't do it, we're going to learn, and I'm going to have wasted some really good pieces of paper. Instead of cutting it in, I'm going to cut it up. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut it up on this corner line right here this time and see if this is going to make it easier. So here we go. I think it's going to be great. Yep, that's exactly what I want to do. Because look at what we're going to do. We're going to fold, we're going to attach our glue right there. So you're going to cut up on your lines. Don't cut on the sides. Okay, let's put the glue here. Keep it inside our rectangle bottom. And then what I'm going to do is bring this over just like that. Yeah, and then we'll reinforce our bottom. You know what I just realized? Essentially, it's going to work no matter how you do it. You can reinforce your bottom, you can reinforce your sides. So I think because we already have a reinforced bottom, maybe we want to reinforce our sides. Oh, do as I say, not as I do. I think it is actually going to be better to cut it in on the sides. That's what I've decided. You want a reinforced side as well. Okay, so we got that there. So now we've got a nice sturdy bottom. And now what we're going to do is just put the glue on our sides here. Just like that. And what I'm going to do is use my hand to just kind of attach that a little bit. And you're going to want that nice and even. So if you're not even, move it while you still can, and you can with green glue. Okay, and I'm just going to attach that little tab there so it doesn't stick out. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this one. So you're going to have a definite front and back of your bag. Just like I said before, you're going to want your raw edge to be facing to the back of the bag. So is everybody ready for Christmas? I'm not by a long shot. And now traveling tomorrow is really going to put a crick in my plans, let me tell you. But we will be fine. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to add a little glue right here. Just like that. And I guess I didn't do a great job attaching this, did I? Okay, there we go. Now, what I did, and maybe I'll do it, I may just do one handle on this now for this one. Let's see how that works. I kind of like the one handle better. Nope, I cut two pieces. We're going to do it with two. Okay, so I've got my ribbon here. For this size bag, I've discovered it looks like about 13 inches is going to be about right. So what I'm going to do, and let me show you something funny on this bag. On this bag, I made my holes. Apparently, I made my holes twice. I don't remember making these a while back, and then I just went right in with my crocodile and made holes today, and then I looked and I'm like, oh boy, that would have been a better place for them, and it would have been a better size for them. So don't do what I did. If you're going to do something, just finish the job. Okay, I've got my crocodile. Because this ribbon is an inch wide, I'm going to use the wider side, the bigger hole. There's a bigger hole. This is actually for setting eyelets. And boy, when I first started, we used to set eyelets, and I would do it downstairs on my, in my laundry room on the cement floor, so nobody could hear me hammering to try and get them. And then we had this tool that does a good job of doing that. Does anybody remember doing that? Do you remember setting eyelets with the eyelet tool and having to hammer with a hammer? Okay, well, here I said it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to use the bigger hole. I said finish the job before you forget what you're doing, and I've already forgotten. Okay, here we go. All we're going to do is once again thread this through our holes. If you have a hard time doing that, take your pick tool and one of your ends to push it through. You can use the end of a scissor, and that'll do it too. Okay, so that's this. Oh boy, it's coming loose. Okay, let me do a better job and really push this through. There we go. There's my end. You can finish it off neatly when you are done making your bag handles. This is the back of my bag, so I don't have to worry about attaching my tag. I'm going to do that in a second. And I have to show you how we made the tag. Okay, so this one I really use the pattern tags dies for. Like I told you. Okay, I'm just pushing this through. Do whatever it takes to make it look nice, but make it look finished on the inside as well as on the outside. Okay, so there's my handle. Make sure it's all, see, I kind of rotated that. Straighten it out so it's nice and even. Okay, I'll work on finishing those ends off in a minute. See, I did it again. There's another hole. Okay, let me show you what I did for this die though. This die is, okay, this is what I did. I have the pattern tags dies comes with one that looks like poinsettias. That's what this one is. Then there's another one that looks like pines, and then there's still another one that's striped. I didn't end up using the striped. I'm going to show you this one in a second for the next one. But this is what I'm going to show you. So I cut my pattern, my overlay with the pattern tag. And what I did was I cut a piece of gold foil exactly, oh, where is my ruler? I can tell you exactly how I cut it. Well, I guess I'm going to measure it here. It's 1 3/4 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. And that's exactly the size that I cut. There's my ruler, my gold foil. And you don't want excess gold foil hanging out, because you know what happens? If you have any marks, if you have any chads on your die plate, if you have any scratches on the gold foil, that's going to show through. That's why I did it, so this was exactly cut. Okay, now I am going to take the brush tip of your, pick tool. So I've got the brush side. I'm going to just brush that out, just like this. And if there's anything that doesn't come out, I'm going to take one of the specialty tips, because there is something that I noticed. The tip that we used to use, that is the other end of here, is too large to cut and fit in our little die holes now. So you need to take your pick tool. This is the fine one. This is one of the specialty tips. And actually this, I guess this is the only tip. There's also a perforator, and I cannot wait to use the perforating tool. I didn't do that yet. But just poke this through and see how it fits right in the little hole, so that you can actually push out your die cut. If you're going to not do as well, it's going to be fine. So I also cut a cherry cobbler base. And so let me move this out of the way. I should have asked, in fact, maybe I'll ask my daughter for it. She's always asking me what I want for Christmas. A little vacuum for all the little pieces. The pieces that go inside your keyboard, the pieces that go all over my crafting surface, all those little chads. That's what I should have asked for Christmas. Okay, so I've got my solid cherry cobbler, and I've got my die cut thing, and I guess I was honestly, yeah, that's how it works. That's how this one is too. I don't know what I'm worried about. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just making sure all the little pieces are out. All those little chads are gone. I think we're good. One more. Whew. Lots of little pieces. What I'm going to do is just add some glue here. Get rid of the excess that I should have put my lid on. Okay, I'm just going to squeeze some. Not too much, that's a little bit much. just in those open area, those larger areas where we've got our dye. You can see that there's larger areas where you can actually add a little bit of adhesive. And what I'm going to do is just lay that on top of here, slide it on, make sure it's nice and even, just like that, just like that. Now my hand is sticky, but there we go. Okay, now I'm going to show you another part of the Pattern Tags dies, and that is this little bow. Really beautiful little bow, but let me show you that with that. Where's my little bow? Can I put it in here? Okay, I might have left my little bow. Oh, here it is. Here's my little bow. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying use this to get in those little holes. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to push it out. So there's a couple of pieces. There's one loop. There is two loops. And then there's a little knot. Don't lose that little knot. It's a tough one. So that's why I didn't push it out of the die before I came to the camera. So now what I'm going to do is just add a little bit. Okay, I've got my big bow, and that's going to be my base. I'm going to just add, there is a negative and a positive side of this. I'm just going to flip this so it looks like upside down, and I'm going to add a little dot of glue to the center there. Just to the center, like that. Just like that. And then I'm going to add more glue. Just another dot to the top. I wouldn't recommend a glue dot. It's just not going to work because this is such a little dot here. But I will show you what I'm going to do here. If I take your pick tool, I'm going to use the putty end. Let me flip this over. I don't think it's going to matter. I'm going to use the putty end to pick up my knot and place it. There we go. Just like that, we've got our die all done. I'm going to just attach that under because otherwise it kind of gets obscured by the twine here. So I'm going to attach it under my little hole there. So let me just add one more. Actually, let's wait to do that. Let's wait to do that until I attach my twine. So this is the one that goes with the Modern Christmas Suite. This is the white and gold, and there's a black and gold ribbon as well. I like the gold in here. I kind of feel like it brings out the gold over here. Cut that, and then I'm just going to flip this over, push both ends through, just like that. There we go. And then I will attach my little bow underneath there. I do have another thing here, and I don't know if you saw this on my thing, but remember I said that I was using the Abundant Joy paper pumpkin dies. Don't do too much moving with your glue, your green glue here, because you're going to make a mess of your gold foil. So I'm not even going to move it right now. I'm going to let that just sit. I cut my two joys. I have a gold foil joy and I have a cherry cobbler joy, and I'm just going to how did I do this? How did I do this? Oh, it's right here. I did the cherry cobbler underneath. Just because if I did the gold underneath, you wouldn't see it anyway because of the gold foil. So I'm just going to attach. I'm going to add a couple of dots of glue right there on my joy, just like that. And I'm going to lay this over top, but I'm going to make it so that it's kind of staggered, just like that. You can make it as big of a dot as you want, you know, as big of a stagger as you want. I kind of like that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, and then I'm going to take some mini dimensionals. Let me grab my mini dimensionals here. They're here someplace. Here's some mini dimensionals. And you've got a nice area in the middle to add your mini dimensionals. And we're going to just attach that to our tag. And then our tag is just going to, isn't that pretty? Just like that. Our tag we can now attach to our other ribbon handle. So let's put that through the other side. Let's do it on the right side. Here we go. I'm going to push this through on one side. Make my little knot. Just like that. And do that again over here, but I'm going to just thread my tag through first, okay? And if it's backwards, depending on how it got threaded on the ribbon, just flip it over to the other side of the handle. So. There we go, just like that. And voila, we have our tag. Isn't that pretty? So nice and easy, super easy, okay? Just don't do what I did and do another hole there. Okay, that is project number 2. Let's get to our smallest one, and that is our 6-inch square. So you can use just one piece of DSP for that. So let's do that here. We're going to cut this to 6 by 6. You can put the other 6 by 6 inch piece away, and you can actually make a second bag out of that if you want. But let me show you. We're going to cut this down again, 6 by 6. Okay, that's that. And then I have to actually look at my bag, because I don't remember. I think it's a 3/4 and a 1.5 inch thing. So let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. It is 3/4, which means our bottom is 1.5. Okay, you heard it here. I'm going to score 1.5. Oh, let's do that again. 1.5. Oh, I did it again. Make sure that your inside is facing up. 1.5 for the third time. 1.5 again. Rotate again. 1.5. And then 3/4. And 3/4 is over here. And just keep your fingers out of the way when you're doing that. We're going to do that with our second piece. Let's start with the 3/4. Get that out of the way. Okay, 1.5. 1.5 and 1.5. Now, if I made this an inch, what does that mean our sides and bottom would be? It would be 2 inches wide, and it would be a very tiny bag. It would actually be a little bit bulky, I think. You can get smaller still, and we will, when I give you the tutorial for those that have registered for the craft along, you actually can make all kinds of squares. Okay, so I'm going to fold this top over, take my bone folder and burnish. Fold my top over, just like this, and burnish. Okay, now our sides. Burnish those edges nicely too, the sides, and our bottom. There we go. Once more. Sides in, our bottom, and our sides in. Just like that. Ta-da! Okay, same thing as before. We're going to cut out the bottom corners. Just like that, because we don't need all that bulk. You can decide what to do with your leftovers. You could probably cut out a little snowflake from using the Elegant Pines dies if you wanted to. There's probably a die not this one because this cuts out all the little pieces, but there is a solid one that actually won't cut out the little pieces that you can use for that. Maybe we'll set that aside and we'll do something with that. Okay, now we're going to do, like I said before, I'm going to instead try doing the sides again. So we're going to cut in from the sides to our score line on both sides. Just like that. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is add my adhesive. I'm actually going to try just putting the glue on this side instead of on that side and bringing it over. Let's just go like this. See how my edges match there. There we go. Okay, now we're going to add adhesive to these two tabs. One there, a little bit there. That's a lot of adhesive. Didn't need that much. And that's reinforcing our sides, like we said. Just like that. Hold it for a second. I'm not holding it long enough, but it does take a little bit longer than that to set than I'm giving it credit for. There we go. And then we're going to add the adhesive to the side. Bring it up, just like that. One more time. And you are just about done with your thing. I'm going to show you another little trick that I noticed with the pattern tag dies now when I finish this. Okay, so we got our sides here. I'm going to add just a dot of glue under both of these tabs. Just like that. That was a big dot of glue on both sides. Let's hold that for a second. Okay, cute little bag, isn't it? And it ends up being only 3 3/4 inches tall. So that's a really nice size for something. Now remember, we have this paper that would be a good size for this. We could actually stamp this and fill it with that. Okay, let me show you the last of the pattern tags. We are going to, let's see, I've got my solid tag. Uh-oh, did I not put them in here? I've got my white. Where did I put my green? I must have left it at my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, the Big Boss. Hang on one second. Let me grab my solid shaded spruce. Maybe I didn't end up cutting it because I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I had to get up to actually see it. It's on the side. Okay, so we have our solid shaded spruce tab. There we go. Remember, it's 1 3/4 by 3 1/4 inches. And then I have here a white piece of cardstock that I embossed or cut with this one. So I wanted to show you this. Once again, I'm going to take my brush, my die brush, and I'm going to push out those things. What you're going to see is that it actually is going to push out whole pieces of pine branches. Isn't that cool? So what do you think I did with it? I actually cut out, because the white, I suppose they could look like snow-tipped brushes, right? Snow-tipped branches. Sorry, I can't do two things at the same time. I cannot think using a brush and come up with what I'm supposed to say here. Okay, I'm going to push that out. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that's the hole I needed. And you see that I pushed out all those little pieces and I've got them all over my desk. Because I don't think I'm using the white, I'm just going to brush them to the side. Well, I did this also with my, with a piece of shaded spruce, just like that. And I did it so that I would have all of these little branches. If I can get it out of here, there you go. And some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but you can see, kind of cool, huh? Okay, so what I'm going to show you next is that what I did was I'm going to attach the white to the shaded spruce. Let me put my cover back on my tool or I'll never find the cover again. There's plenty of white spots. You can see that I'm using a scrap. Nobody sees the back of it. Don't worry about it. There's two sides to cardstock, so I always say use the other side if something messes up. Okay. I'm just adding the glue. It's almost because of that pattern, it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to attach this. Oh. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm going to let it go. Okay, I'm going to just put this over top. Isn't that pretty how that shines through? Just line it up. Slide it into place. Okay, so now I used one of the Spotlight on Nature dies for the next part. This is just a little one. And what I'm going to do is find my stamp. Oh, here it is. This is another stamp, and I'm going to stamp it with shaded spruce right in the center, just for something different. I couldn't figure out what to put on this so that I could actually, you know, I could say Merry Christmas or whatever. Okay. I should have been standing up. I might not have stamped that in the center. Yeah, it's not terrible. Okay, so there we go. And what I'm going to do now is just pop this up over the bottom. But I do want to add part of the suite, or the Delicate Pines, are these faceted snowflakes. So I chose a red one. Let's do a green one this time because I haven't really used the green yet. So take your pick tool. Let's just attach that to the center. It's not pretty. Oh, you know what? I found with these that a lot of the times the little glue dot that's under this faceted snowflake is left on the sheet. So it almost works better to slide these faceted snowflakes off so that you get your glue dot with your gem. Okay, I'm going to pop that up with some dimensionals right over here, but let me put that down. I'm going to put two dimensionals, and then I'm going to use a third one to kind of attach. So I've got a triangle of dimensionals here. I'm going to use a third one right here to attach some of my larger pine branches, just like that. And if you think that you want a third, you can cut out as many branches as you want. Let me just attach this before it scoots away on me. Okay, maybe I'm going to actually put a little dot of glue here too, because I'm keeping the pine branches together, but I didn't do a very good job of getting it so that it stayed. And I'm just going to do it like this. I'm just going to attach that right here to the center. Just like that. If you want another one down below, because 3 works better, that's up to you. I happen to have an extra one here, so I don't know. Maybe right there. Oh, I forgot to show you. So there is a pine cone. So you could stamp that with early espresso or pecan pie, and you could add the pine cone to the branch too, and that could give you another splash of color. So I will practice with that before next week. But anyway, what we're going to do with this one is once again put the handles through. I'm going to use my crocodile, and I just have one handle for each side on this one, and it's It's a longer, this is, see this one I use the red, and the red shows up a little bit nicer. So you might want to use your red gem or your green. The third color here is clear, so you've got lots of options. Okay, I'm going to use the big side. I haven't punched any other holes, so I should be good. Do that on each side. Okay, and then we're just going to thread the ribbon just like we did before. The only other thing I need to do is add more of this gold twine. I don't know if it's vanilla and gold and black and gold. I don't remember how it, the exact name for the duo of twine. There's a black and gold and there's this color. It's a really sturdy twine. And with the gold, shows up nicely. There we go. Trim your edges off, your tails, make that look nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just, again, attach my ribbon. And where did I put my ribbon? Good question. Where did I put my ribbon? Anyway, I was going to do it the same way, so I really don't need to, but that will attach right on your bag handle. So I must have left the ribbon on the table, and we don't need to go back and get it. You get what I'm doing. So there you go. And if you want to use more, I'm giving you 2 yards of ribbon, so you can put your handles however you want. So that is going to be up to you, but very pretty, isn't it? So we have our 8-inch square bag right here, and we even made our designer paper right there. Not pretty? And then we have our 6-inch bag right here with our joy tag. So I wanted to show the bags first. Next week we're going to do the gift card holders. These stack nicely inside each other. So look at this. You can put them right inside each other, just like that. Make a nice gift for somebody even. You could fill each of the bags with something and give them all 3, whatever you want to do. But next week we're going to do the gift card holders. We're going to do that treat holder, this one that I was showing you with the magnetic clasp and the accordion fold. And we're going to do the 2 gift card envelopes and the little note card. So let me, do I have to flip back? Yep, I do. Let me flip back and say goodbye to you. I don't want you guys to see my mess over there. It's clean, but it's still not clean. Rose, love seeing you on here. I know you could make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bags. I agree. For the bigger bags, you have to have 2 sheets. That's the only problem. But I agree. I might go to town this Christmas and just make bags because I have so much designer paper too. I have 6 boxes in the corner. Some of it is 6x6, which means I could easily make some lovely smaller bags. But have a wonderful day. I hope everybody stays warm. We got some snow yesterday and it's beautiful with my Christmas lights outside. Just looks like a winter wonderland. But I will see you next week for part 2. Stay tuned and have a wonderful week. Bye.